mic'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up, and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God.
So me and Joe on the ground, I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Chico can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's been with the team 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Chico can practice today. And I was like, I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
you heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled.
Whoa. What was that?
Time to go to the show. I don't even know what I'd be doing.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should stay
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Monday, March 25th, and the boys are back in town. I mean, Friday, me and Lloyd be the only two guys in here on Friday without J. Mitch. It's nice to have our boy back in studio. He was at a wedding this weekend. Great wedding.
Great wedding.
Mutual friend, well, your friend that you introduced to me, who ends up becoming my friend. I wasn't at the wedding, but I'm glad you were there. It was a good time, it looked like.
Great time.
Great
weather.
time.
Great
Always
people.
nice to go back to the Barry.
Yeah, man, we had a good time.
Good time.
It was a great wedding. So congrats to my boy. And
Congrats, Raj. Big Raj.
it was a good wedding.
Lloyd was on a bachelor trip this weekend, but he was here for the show on Friday, and then left to go to the bachelor trip, and he made it back here alive. So we actually are having a show today, which is awesome.
Had to do it for the people.
You did, and I appreciate that. You're running on fumes, but we're here.
That's right.
And you're producing. You've already been doing some work.
Already back on the ones.
I
and
love
twos.
that.
Back like I never left.
Yep, I love that. Not a great weekend for the boys again.
No.
For the LSU boys, for the baseball team or the softball team, which I think for as much as good luck we had on the women's basketball last year, we may be mushing people. And I don't love that for us. But
Even canceled some guests today just in case.
yeah. Hey, let's take a little break, maybe.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into all the conversations, especially this weekend with the baseball team, and what we feel like went wrong, what we feel like went right. I know they're 2-4. I know people think that they're terrible and that they have no chance of righting the ship. That is not the case. That is false. I believe that they do have a chance to right the ship, and they are only 2-4. Now, let's not forget, they lost 2 series in a row last year, right? Now, that was kind of towards the back end of the year whenever they had a good start to the season. This year, they did it to start the season. Now, they got to go on the road to Arkansas, who's 5-1 with a really good pitching staff. So, the work doesn't get any easier. The work doesn't get any easier, but it's not the end-all, be-all. And we're going to talk about that through the course of the show. Women's basketball has been in the news for some things other than just winning basketball games. They are in the Sweet 16 for the second straight year. Coach Kim Mulkey is in the news. People love to hate, and people love to bring out some things against LSU, against Kim, and they're doing that same thing right now. There's apparently a story that is about to drop, and I'd imagine they're probably going to drop it right before the Sweet 16 game because that's what they do. And it's probably going to be some negative stuff on Kim, and she's
Got out in front of it.
got out in front of it and said, hey, listen, I know what they're going to talk. It seems like it's going to be a lot of the same stuff that has been talked about before in the past, and they're just going to all put it together in one story. We don't know, but Bryce Koon, our friend of ours, friend of the show, who covers LSU for 247, was at the press conference. It was his video of the press conference that went viral, and he will be on the show via video call at 7-ish. Jesus, dude, that
Came in
was
hot.
a laser.
That was a laser.
God.
Watched too
Almost
much,
got you right in the
Right
forehead.
in the lights and everything. My
Jesus.
watched too much Caglione over the weekend.
Except you threw it righty, he threw it lefty, and he hit the ball a million miles an hour over the fence. Not great. We're going to talk about it. But Bryce Koon will be on around 7 o'clock to talk all things LSU, Kim Mulkey story, talk about LSU baseball, talk about all the sports that are going on. Congratulations to the LSU Gymnastics team. They are SEC champions this year. I think the true freshman has scored a perfect 10 on her routine. And who was the all-around winner? It was Bryant.
Haley Bryant.
Haley Bryant is the all-around performer. Wins the all-around performer. I think that's what it's called. I'm sorry for being not educated. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Perfect. You look good.
Got the old school cans on the man. Look at those things.
I like it. It looks good on you.
I feel naked without them.
Is this raccoon?
This is Bryce.
Oh, it's koala fur, I think. Listen, before we get into the LSU conversation, LSU baseball conversation, before we help try to talk everybody off the ledge and talk about what we've seen, huh?
It'll be tough.
It'll be tough. I know. I don't think the ledge is going anywhere until LSU wins the series over the weekends, which I agree. I'm with you on that. We're going to talk a little bit around the SEC. Listen, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of storylines going on right now in the SEC. Arkansas is leading the way. They're 5-1 in conference play. A&M is playing really good baseball. They lost a series last weekend to Florida on the road. This weekend they go ahead and they beat Mississippi State, who took it from us. Now, all of those games were really pretty close games. Like, they were tight games. And so not an indictment against Mississippi State, more of a credit to Texas A&M. Georgia, who got swept last weekend, sweeps Alabama this weekend. Charlie Condon is doing things that are pretty outrageous. He has 17 home runs, he's hitting .524 on the season, and that's pretty stupid. 17 home runs, and how many games do you think they had? How many games do you think they played? 30 max? Not even 30.
What's LSU's record?
I don't know the record.
Played at least 25.
17 home runs in 25 games. That's pretty outrageous. Obviously, Florida beats us. Tennessee takes 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss. That is after Tennessee, I believe, lost the series last week.
Yeah, they lost the series last week in Alabama.
Yes, they did. There you go. Lost the series to Alabama last week, and they take 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss. Kentucky takes 2 out of 3 from Missouri. The surprise of the weekend, which is relevant to LSU because Vanderbilt is coming here not this weekend, but next weekend. South Carolina swept Vandy after Vandy swept Georgia. Yeah. My point in saying all of this is there is a lot of room and there's a lot of ground to be made up. There's only one team that has one loss in the SEC, and that's Arkansas, who LSU plays this weekend. We're going to get into that conversation. Wednesday is supposed to be Ask Mikey and Mitch, but you know what? If you got questions, throw them in the chat. We're here to talk about it. We want to talk to you as much as we can tonight. We want to help ease some of these concerns or tell you that you're right and you have every right to be concerned. We're going to get to that. Listen, Mr. Positive over here is me.
Yes.
I would be the first to admit, listen, there's some things they got to fix. No doubt. And I think everybody on the team would say that. Everybody on the staff would say that. Do they have the talent to fix it? Absolutely. Right? The only way you're going to be able to fix it is to continue to do it in the game and continue to work and get better and get better. They have a tough game on Tuesday. Every midweek game from here on out is important. Why? Because it's more reps that these guys get. Southeastern's playing really good baseball. They're going to come in here. They almost beat LSU on the road at Southeastern. They're going to come in here and they're going to try to beat LSU. They're going to kick a dog while he's down, right? And LSU had a chance to win the series on Saturday. Wasn't able to finish that one out, and they got 10 on road for the second Sunday in a row this Sunday. So Southeastern is going to try to take advantage of that. They're going to come in here on Tuesday. LSU is going to have to be ready to play, hopefully get that victory, and head into the weekend on the road against Arkansas, who arguably has the best pitching staff in the country. So without further ado, let's get this conversation going. I've already really started the conversation. Jay, you were at the game on Sunday. You watched some of the games on TV. Give me your take on the whole weekend.
Yeah, I mean, so I was only really able to lock into the Sunday game.
That was not the best one.
Not the best one. Not the best one to see. I think Thatcher threw great up until it wasn't great, and then first off, I think that ends up being a huge thing for them because it can't just be great, and then we're out of a ball game because it's not great, right? I think once that kind of happened, like you knew what you were going to get with Caglione. You knew he was going to come and be super competitive. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to watch the rest of the games that he's thrown all year, but what I watched him do when he got behind and counts and how much and how well he used that changeup, if he had been doing that all year, or he continues to do that all year, I think he'll run away with the Player of the Year.
He has not been doing that all year.
That's what I thought, right?
Yeah.
Even by looking at the numbers, you can kind of see it. But if he continues to do that all year, I think he'll run away with the Player of the Year. To me, the problem ends up being when you have that one implosion inning that Thatcher's kind of been having right now. I don't think offensively LSU is where they need to be able to kind of combat that and to be able to kind of go back against that, especially in this league. And if you keep having that right now, I think that becomes a problem. So I think there's a problem that you need to address, and it's not that they're not good enough. It's not that Thatcher's not good enough. It's maybe some usage issues right now and where and when and how people will throw. I think you are going to see some changes moving forward starting this week simply because you are at a spot right now. Like, hey, you're 2-4 right now, and this thing can go off the rail real quick when you go on the road to Arkansas and then you welcome in Vanderbilt the next week.
Hey, listen to me. Arkansas is a tough environment to play in.
Yeah.
Especially when they're playing really well and they're playing LSU. They don't really like LSU much especially on the baseball side. And the woo pig suey thing is very annoying, especially when you're not winning. Okay? You said you expect to see some changes. What changes do you expect to see?
I personally expect to see. I thought it was going to happen this week, and then with how much he got up on Saturday, he was up a couple times in the pen on Saturday, and obviously he came in to replace Thatcher on the Sunday game. Shows me how urgent and how much they want to use him. I expect to see Cade Anderson in the rotation this weekend, and if that happens, I would imagine him and Thatcher kind of flip-flop roles. And let's be honest, like it is no slight to the man. You just got to know how and when to use him and what works best for him, right? Well, like I think we can all remember back when we couldn't figure out, okay, Zach Hess, how do we use him? And out of the pen was where he was best at, right? I think one of those things with Thatcher is like he may be one of those guys that's like a slow starter. The only thing is they don't have a time for a slow start this year, right? They don't have the lineup for a slow start this year. And I think for him, it may be best for him to find his groove in the pen, right? And you get
like
other
last
guys,
year.
like just like he did last year, right? He was able to get going in the pen, and as the year picked up, you saw the best of him. I think that might be where he might be best at right now. And if you can use him there and you can get some more stability in the rotation, you may be able to kind of solve these problems. Because you got to remember, Gage Jump on Saturday, whether or not how much you love his stuff, he's still so young, and you don't know what you're going to get. There's not enough background there. There's not enough experience there because he played very, very, very little his freshman year and missed the rest of the year. He missed the entire next year, and he's back this year, right? That's a long layoff and not enough experience behind that layoff for you to say, I know what I'm getting out of that guy on Saturday. And he knows where his body is and how to bounce back and how to do this and how to do that. He's not actually there yet. So you have a guy throwing for you on Friday who's doing the job. And he's good, right? Still somewhat of a wild card, even though you believe so much in the ability, right? The ability's there. Still believe so much of a wild card on Saturday. And we've been getting wild card starts out of Thatcher on Sunday. Or pretty much all year for the most part.
And look, I had mentioned this earlier in the year that it wasn't concerning to me, right? Thatcher's issue last year, a little bit early on, was he would walk guys, and then he'd give up a couple hits when he would put them on base, and then they would score these big innings, right? That was the issue early last year. This year, that really wasn't my concern. I was like, he's not really walking guys. He's around the zone. He's just getting hit. And I was like, that to me, I don't think that's concerning. I think that he's going to kind of figure it out, and he's going to start getting some swings and misses. Well, that hasn't happened yet. And, I mean, he only walked 2 guys, but he gave up all those runs on Sunday. And it's like, well, all right, maybe something's a little off. Maybe he's showing the ball too early. Maybe he's not hiding it. Maybe the mechanics are a little off. I don't know what that issue. I didn't ever pitched, right? I don't know what that issue is or what that fix is, but maybe you're right. Maybe going into the bullpen and saying, hey, look, you're going to throw in high leverage situations for 1 or 2 innings. And then you're going to do that, and you're just going to start building that confidence again like you did last year, and then we're going to count on you later on in the year. Or be that midweek starter. You know, be the midweek and then throw in the bullpen.
Here's the thing. If you put him in midweek, you may lose him.
You're right.
Right? Like, at the end of the day,
you're right.
You're 2-4 in conference. You put him in the midweek, you may lose him. This is his draft year. Like, you got to be cognizant of where he is and how he is as a person. I won't say how he is. Where anyone would be when it becomes their draft year, whether they want to tell you or not, you throw him in the midweek, you may lose him for the rest of the year. He has to continue throwing on the weekend. I'm just not sure for him and really for the team that in the rotation is the spot.
Right.
Well, that's where I would say, like you talked about everything that he's done well. It hasn't been really slow starts. It's been the one big inning. And I think putting him in high leverage situations, like out of the pen, may be the opposite of what he needs. Because it might just be.
I mean, it's what brought the best out of him last year.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying where he is this year.
I mean, he was right here last year, even with even worse numbers.
If you think about last year, right, he had the same kind of thing. Like, he couldn't get out of the 4th or whatever inning it was last year. He'd start stronger than he couldn't get out of the 4th. Similar situations, but go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
Well, no, that's what just would raise my level of concern for him is if you put him in a spot where there's already runners on and you put him in, then you could.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that early on.
Well, yeah, you just said I just heard high leverage situations, which I think if you do bring him out of the pen, it's almost a de facto starter, clean inning. You're coming out in the whatever it is, like the start of an inning where you feel a bit like a starter as opposed to runners on 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, like Thatcher go get it done.
I think Thatcher got to a point last year where the fight or flight was like, hey, it's been bad enough. Can't get any worse. Let's go. And I think when he got to that let's go spot, that's when he went. Get him to that spot again, right? Instead of keep giving him these clean innings and these clean games where he's got to hold on. He found it last year when he was at rock bottom, right? Rock bottom meant it really couldn't get any worse. Don't matter if it was a clean inning or if I came on with runners on 2nd and 3rd. They weren't his runs anyway, right? So I think he's one of those guys to get him going. You may need to put him back in that spot, same mental spot that he was at last year, to really get him kind of pushing along.
I just think that the way that it's set up for now, if you do that with kind of where the pressure is already and then you start putting him in those situations, people are already kind of taking shots at the bullpen. Who's the guy that you can actually trust? If it works out, that would be perfect. That would fix a lot of things. But if you go to that where Thatcher comes in a high leverage situation in a close game and one pitch, one swing, and it gives up 3 and a home run, and you're going, well, why the fuck did you do that?
No, I understand. That's easy to say it that way, right?
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's the short-sighted view of it. But that's what people are going to do.
But here's the thing. When you talk about Thatcher, what are you really wanting out of him? From to be good for a game or for him to figure it out for the long run? Right. So we really don't give a shit if he gives up a 3-run home run when we lose 1 game because we need him to figure it out for the long run. That's really where it's at. And that's how you got to look at it. Like, he's not – if you're looking at Thatcher like it's a 1-game fix it and he's going to be there, you're not looking at it the right way. Right. If you're looking at Thatcher like, hey, we need you to come in and save 1 game and when we haven't even reached May yet, you're not looking at it the right way. You have to think about him as he is a long-term piece of this team. And if he's not that, then we can't get it done anyway. So it doesn't really matter if he comes in and gives up a 3-run homer next weekend. Who cares?
And look, this weekend really wasn't on the bullpen, You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't blame it on the bullpen.
No, not at all.
Obviously, on Friday, you threw 2 guys. You had
Guidry
Luke
and
Holman threw lights out, and then Griffin Herring finished the game.
Griffin, yeah,
so you had
sorry.
2 guys, and they're both lights out. The next game, you had Gage Jump go 5 2/3, strike out 8. He walked 4, which isn't great, but he got himself out of trouble. Only gave up 2 hits. Had 1 inning, base loaded, no outs, gave up 2 runs. That was a great escape job that he did. 5 2/3, 8 punchies. Then you put in Ackenhausen, who threw well, right? Now he gave up the 2-run homer.
Did Guidry.
Guidry got out, did his deal, got, I think, 1 or 2 outs. I think 2 outs.
No, he went,
Did he?
1 2/3.
Was it? Oh, yeah, right. You're right. 1 2/3. And then you put in Ackenhausen, who threw really well, and he just kept going. They got an extra innings. Now, I know he gave up the base hit to score the run, right, to tie the game. He also had the one where Milazzo blocked it, which I'm not even putting on Milazzo. Milazzo would sit here right now and tell you, I've got to make that play. That can't happen. And that's what you would expect him to say because he's a competitor and he's really good. Ball bounced. He blocked it. It kicked right. He had no idea where it went. The guy gets the first and the guy scores. Very fluky thing. Unfortunate. Next guy punches out. So now it's 5-4 going into the 9th.
That tied it.
No, that did not tie it. The base hit single in the 9th tied it. That was in the 8th. They were down 2. So it was 4-2. That one made it 4-3. Top of the 9th, I think there's 2 outs. And the guy, I think it was Shellnut or whoever it was, line drive up the middle to tie the game off of Ackenhausen. But then he gets out the rest of the 9th, then he throws the 10th, and he gets the 11th. And they pitched to Caglione really well that whole game. The first game, too. They pitched him really well the first game. They pitched him really well the second game. And then made one mistake, pitch up and out, and he got to it and hit the ball like shot of a rocket ship and hit a 2-run homer. And that's the danger of a guy like Jack Caglione, right? You can do it. You can be perfect 99% of the time, and then that one mistake, and it came in the big moment of the game. I'm not blaming it on the bullpen. That is a tough guy to face. But all in all, in those first 2 games, the bullpen threw fine. Pitching staff was fine. The big issue on the second game was LSU had 10 hits going into after the 6th inning, and they didn't get any more the rest of the game. And so the Florida bullpen was the one who kind of hunkered down and figured it out and allowed them to chip away. And I think that you look back, and I think everybody on the team would be like, damn, that was a game we probably should have won. Now, it was a great game, but you'd imagine that they would imagine they should have won that game. And then you get to Sunday, and LSU's up 1-0. Then they go down 2-1. Then they go down 6-1. Then it's 6-2, and then wheels kind of fall off, and 12-2, and 10-run run for the second straight, which that's concerning to me. But I think that goes to the conversation that we just had before, where okay, we're not going to be the team that's going to score 10 runs right now.
Not right now.
Not right now. And I'm not saying they can't. Listen, Jared Jones looks great. I mean, he's at 10 home runs right now. He's got 3 or 4 home runs in SEC play. Mm-hmm. He hit a ball 110 off the bat, opposite field to the back of the wall, and then he hit a ball to the old Alex Box Stadium in the next game. So he's swinging the really good bat, really hot bat. Pearson looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. You got guys doing some things. You just got to figure out how to consistently get on base and drive these guys in when they're on base. Right now, they're getting the big hits with nobody on. And they're not driving guys in, hitting with guys in scoring position. And that's just part of baseball sometimes. It's hard to do it. That's when pitchers understand, hey, I got to get a little nastier. I got to lock it in. But that's also where you make your money.
Yeah. And, I get it. Jay's got a ton of options, if you will, this year. And that's all great. I do think there is something about – and whether he would admit it or not, it is what it is. But I do think there's something about – you said who's swinging great right now?
Jared Jones.
Right.
I'd give it to Tommy. I mean, Tommy.
Right.
Travinsky's probably, doing what you would expect Travinsky to do.
Right.
Pearson.
Okay.
Those
Who's
3.
getting on in front of them?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's turning it over at the bottom of it?
That's the problem.
And that's my point. I don't think and we knew this. Like, they were young. They were going to have some guys that had to come along. And I'm not saying they needed to be at the spot where they came along already in week 2 of the SEC slate. But if they're not along, then we got to be able to pitch it better and stay in games longer. And that's where we haven't really done it on the SEC part of the schedule. So to me, that's where it needs to be figured out at and needs to be figured out now because going into the SEC schedule, they were, I think as a team, a sub-2. So when we get to the SEC schedule, that can't disappear while we're trying to let these bats and these younger hitters and these guys with less experience kind of mature a little bit.
And that's the part where you got to be patient, right? And it's hard to be patient because you're 2-4 in conference, right? Now you mentioned a couple guys that you may so there's some changes in the rotation pitching staff, but you think there could be some changes in the lineup relatively soon.
Yeah, I think we've seen it before, man. Like when young kids kind of get a chance to hit and they come in and do some things and they kind of impress, but they're still not in the lineup, and then a game like that in conference play kind of gets out of hand, and you see young guys like Larson get in there and still get at bats late in the game. Well, he ain't giving them at bats because he just wants to get these other guys out who are either not doing good and or had a great game. He's giving them at bats because he's like, well, let me see with this guy because he might actually spark something in this club. I would imagine he's not far, if things keep going how they're going, from finding himself inserted into a lineup and getting a chance to be an everyday guy.
And I didn't expect to say this year. I thought you're gonna need a few of them to. Whoa. Put that back
Arrange
up there.
the pores.
No doubt. I thought you were gonna need a couple of the young guys to fill in and be part of that lineup, and because you need to develop that. I think you're gonna be counting on more young guys than you think, right? Like you're already counting on Milam. Right, he's their starting second baseman, and he's starting to kind of get through the SEC play and understand, okay, SEC is a little different animal. He's going to adjust. I have no doubt about that. He's going to adjust. He's going to start stringing together some really good games. But you're going to have to start counting on guys like Larson. You're going to have to start counting on guys like Ethan Fry, who has been here for a year, right? Guys who haven't been in the lineup right away. Those are the guys that you're going to start having to rely on. Right, I know Jake Brown has gotten some moments. Now he got pulled early in the Saturday game. I don't know. Did Jay address any of that? I don't even know.
No, but I think you can make the inference for what happened. I think it was didn't hustle out a double play when it felt like he thought there was 2 outs because he kind of was, I don't want to say jogging down the line, but he wasn't busting it as if he knew there was, if he beats it out to first with the speed that he has, that it would have kept the inning alive. So I'd imagine that's a freshman making a bit of a freshman mistake, and see you.
Yeah, well, and that's a learning situation.
I would honestly argue this. As much as you could use like the infusion of some of these young guys kind of getting it going, right, and coming on a little bit, I also think like if I'm going to sit here and think about let's just go with Dylan Cruz, freshman year Dylan Cruz. As good of a year, freshman All-American, did you look at it as Dylan Cruz had to be the driving force of this team for that team to be successful? Did you look at it that way? No, because that's so rare in this league that needs to be the thing. What needs to happen is you got to get some real consistency out of Bingham. What needs to happen is you got to get some real consistency out of Kling. And those guys got to be mixed into it. If you're asking them to drive the top and to turn it over and to be the driving forces of those spots, this team's going to struggle. Mm-hmm. You need those guys to kind of start playing because that's how these young kids can kind of mix in and, for lack of a better word, kind of hide. Right? Like, think about it, bro. Even your freshman year, as good of a freshman year as you had, you wasn't expected to come up and be the offense that day. You wasn't expected to be the fire starter or we need you to turn it around and get it back. Mix in. Yeah. And that's kind of what happens as a young kid.
Right. And to that point, right, I guess when I'm saying they need to step up, they don't need to be the guy. Mm-hmm. But when some of these young guys start to have some success and start to get on base and start to – hey, we're starting to have a little fun. You start to see everybody kind of join in on that, especially the young guys. Then the veteran's like, oh, okay, I got to pick my shit up because if I'm not careful, I'm not going to have a spot. I'm going to be sitting on the bench, right? And so maybe turns up the competitiveness just a little bit. I'm not saying that they're not competitive and they're not being competitive and they're trying to fail. That's not what I'm saying. Sometimes when somebody else does something and you kind of realize, like you said, fight or flight type of situation, it helps them pick their game up. But something needs to change offensively because it feels like they start getting rolling for a couple innings and then then after 2 or 3, 4 innings, it just kind of gets a little stagnant, which that's part of baseball. That happens. Like we've talked about this. They have to continue to just push forward and find their way. At the end of the day, all of these things said, they are 2-4 in conference. They're still ranked in the top 15 or whatever they're going to be ranked, top 10. I don't know what they're ranked yet.
8,
okay? We're still ranked in the top 10, okay? You lose to Florida at home. I would say they probably should have won that series. They should have won Friday and Saturday. They didn't. They should have. They lose on the road to Mississippi State. Mississippi State beat them. They just flat out beat them. I can't say they should have beat Mississippi State at all. They won the game they should have won. That was it.
Yeah.
You go on the road next to Arkansas. Arkansas is 5-1. They're beatable. Arkansas doesn't score a ton of runs, right? Like what Arkansas is really good at is pitching. Their pitching staff and their rotation is arguably the best in the SEC, if not one of the best in the country. That's a challenge, right? That is going to put the offense in a position where, like, all right, we're going to have to figure something out. And sometimes that's what you need. Yeah. Hey, listen, we're struggling. We ain't scoring runs. You're going to face these guys who's probably going to go top 5 overall, maybe 1 overall pick in the draft if it wasn't for Caglione or Condon or whoever. But this guy's throwing 96 to 98 miles an hour from the left side, and he's going to come right at you.
Yeah.
And he's going to try to embarrass you because he struck out 17 guys in 6 innings. Or what was it? Is that right? Yeah, 17 guys in 6 innings. He's going to try to embarrass you at home. So sometimes it's like, hey, all right, we're going to pick our shit up and we're going to score some runs. Now, on the other end, this gives the pitching staff, hey, we're going to go out there and we are going to carry this team against an offense who, yeah, they can score. They're not known for their offense this year, but they have the ability to score some runs and they have the ability to put pressure on you, and they're going to play really good baseball. Like, they're going to steal bases. They're going to take the extra bag. They're going to hit with runners in scoring position. But it puts the pitching staff in a position where, like, all right, we're going to be the guys. And we're going to go out there and we're going to dominate this game. And, you know, Arkansas is not unbeatable. No. But it's a tough challenge on the road at Arkansas. It's a tough place to play. So those are your first 3 series. Let's just say you go there and you don't win the series. Let's say you go 1-2. All right? Now you're 3-6 in conference. Still not the end of the day. Still not the end of the world, right? The season's not over with. Then you start figuring out. You got a team struggling in Vandy, and you go for it. It's too early to start looking at the whole schedule, but my point in saying this is you have 2 good series, and you start figuring yourself out. It's not over. It's not like you're 0-6, where you have this huge uphill battle to climb. They have talent, and they're very good. They're very talented. Jay Johnson's a very good coach. You have leadership on this team. You just have to have it. You just have to have it gel, and that's just they haven't gotten there. Sometimes it takes longer than others. Ole Miss didn't gel until the end of the year 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, just never know when it's going to happen. They have the ability to make it happen. They have the guys on the team to make it happen. I have full faith in this team. Right now, it doesn't look great. Doesn't mean it's going to be like that all year.
We have a good bit of Ask Mikey and Mitch if you want to get to him before Coon.
Perfect. Let's go.
All right.
I need someone to like grab my back and put their knee in my back and just pull my arm and just crack everything in my back. I don't know what the deal is.
You can get that done.
Do you follow these guys on Instagram, like the chiropractors?
Yeah, I think all these girls go in there pretty. I mean,
they do it. It sounds amazing, dude.
Well, yeah, but it seems like the guys enjoy it more than the people getting actually cracked.
The guy? There's one guy. It's just one guy that always pops up on my feed. And he doesn't just do girls; he does everybody. But like,
is he a good-looking guy? That's the guy that I see on my feed.
He has a speak like that as the mic.
Yeah. What is that? Good for him. Great marketing. But there's like famous people that go to him too. But he's always like those. They're making some aggressive noises in there that aren't just the crack. And I think
it's an open room with other people in there.
I don't think they care.
Okay.
Man has no ring on his finger, so I get what they're doing. Imagine if you get that for free all the time. Anyway, Ask Mikey and Mitch. First one up from our guy Fonz. He put a couple in here. He was panicking before the show, but he seems to have calmed. So, Fonzie, Ask Mikey and Mitch. How many series can we lose, LSU being, and still host a regional?
I don't think it's serious. I think it's games.
Series is.
I think a good rule of thumb is you have 30 conference games. 15 and 15 is usually a host.
I think in the number usually around like 17, 18.
That's to win the like a national seed. But if you want to host a regional, 15 and 15 can get a host.
Especially being I would imagine as you're a defending national champion and like
LSU,
the Alex
like,
box, like
doesn't mean you're gonna be a
played.
national seed, but a 15 and 15 in the SEC on a good conference, I think they get a host. Now I'd like to see them go 17 and 13. You know, like 18 and 12 will put them kind of in a position maybe to win the conference, get close to the top. 18 and 12 would definitely give them a national seed. 17, 13, maybe 15 and 15, I think would give them a host.
Yeah, I would say you got to get to 15 plus. I think 15 plus in this league, especially here, gives you a real shot to do something. A little bit of that, and I'm not saying it has to be an unbeaten streak though, but you put yourself now in a point where you kind of got to get hot and kind of got to start going on a little bit of a run. You're gonna have to steal some series on the road. You're gonna have to beat it, and this is one of them, right?
This is a big one.
No one's gonna expect them after these 2 weekends to go in and take this series.
Yeah.
That would be a monumental win and something that gets them back on the right track if they're able to go into Arkansas, steal that series, and kind of come out of this thing with a little steam going.
Yeah, because you're playing at A&M too.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be another tough one, right? But
And also because you just don't, like, let's just say, literally, if we just look at the next 2 weekends, you got Arkansas, you got Vanderbilt. Nobody's expecting 6 wins. So you're going to have to have a 4-2 streak. You're going to have to go 5-1. You're going to have to find a way to get some momentum going if you want to stay on track.
right, and look, 15 and 15, if you want to be a host at 15 and 15, you want to be playing your best baseball towards the end of the year. I think that the schedule is set up for that. So I think that if they get to that, I think they'll host a regional. Now, Super's a whole different conversation, but I think host a regional, that'd be a good spot for right now. You could look up at the end of next weekend and be like, okay, our goals have changed. Super regional's right in our sights.
Next one up, Nick Hessler asking him, what lineup changes does Jay have to make midseason like Maneri did that would scream championship year? I think you can just take that in context of what lineup changes do you see that could possibly
You wanna go
maybe
first?
cause a change.
I said it from the start. Like I said, I thought Thatcher was a guy that if that team wanted to be at its best last year, he was going to have to pitch well. If this team wants to be at its best this year, Paxton Kling has to turn it around. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The kid's too talented. He's too much of a talent for them to go out there and not have him on the field or not be playing anywhere near his best and think that they're going to be their best version of this team. I think he's got to get going, and he's got to get going quick.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like the changes in the lineup, you have got to have somebody at the bottom of the lineup that continues to flip the lineup to the top, right, and get on base and kind of sets the table for the guys that you want to drive them in. Listen, he's moved Tommy to the 2-hole, right? Like, which I like that, but if you have Tommy in the 2-hole, you need a guy hitting 8-9 to be able to get on base for Tommy to drive him in, and that would be a change. I don't know the answer to that right now. Like you said, Paxton Kling is a huge key to this. Him playing really well. Some of these freshmen that are starting to get some opportunities, and Larson, who somebody needs to step up to be that guy in the back end of the lineup to get on base and set the table for the guys ahead of him. Because here's the deal, and we've talked about this all year. Tommy White's not going to be able to get to where Tommy White needs to be if people continue to pitch around him. And you get pitched around when you have the ability to just put him on base. And I know that Jared Jones has 10 home runs, and he looks great. But they're going to continue to try to get him out until Jared Jones proves that I'm so hot right now you can't get me out. But they're not going to let Tommy beat them. Now, if there's consistently guys on base when Tommy's hitting, that puts a lot more pressure on the defense to say, all right, well, are we going to put him on base and take our chances with the guys behind him with the bases loaded, runners in scoring position, or we're going to put him on base and take our chances with a guy behind him with Tommy on first, who's probably not going to score from first on a double. So you've got to figure out how to flip the lineup and get guys in scoring position for the guys that you want to drive guys in. Now, I don't know who that is. I don't know who you put in, but you've got to figure that out.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, in that same vein, next one up, from Stanley Reed. Stanley Reed asks, ask Mikey and Mitch, if you're Paxton Kling, how do you fix it? I know this dude's a dog because everybody, I mean, you see the talent, but his question is, how do you fix him? Because I don't think there's any bones about what people are seeing.
If I knew, if I had a magic bullet, I'd be the richest man in the world. Because I could give every hitter a magic bullet. Now, do I think that there's some things that if Paxton watches his video, he's like, damn, okay, this is not what I'm trying to do. I think a lot of it's mental. I think a lot of it is him trying to feel for the baseball. I've been there a lot of times.
We all get
You've
there.
been there.
We all get there.
You know, like I've been there. Like, I'm not trashing. I'm not saying anything bad because I understand it. I have been through the exact same thing where at this point you're trying to compete and you're trying to get on base and you're trying to get hits and you're feeling for it because you're not super confident or you don't have a good feel for where you're at. I get it. But there's got to be, like, if he watches this video, he's going to realize, okay, I'm not in a position where I could really attack the way I want to attack. It feels like I'm feeling for it. He's got to take a step back and say, okay, what do I need to do mentally to put myself in a mindset to say, okay, I'm going to be able to get off my A swing as much as I can. I don't care if I get out. I just got to know that my swing feels good. And listen, sometimes it only takes one or two swings, one or two really good days in the cage, and then you get to the field and you're like, okay, there's the feel, and you kind of repeat that. And that's easier said than done. I get that. I get it. But, he's just going to have to continue working to put himself in a position mentally to where he can physically do what he's trying to do.
This is what I love about doing something like this because here's what I really, really feel. If I'm going to talk about something, I can be critical of an action without being, I won't say critical, but without feeling like I'm talking bad about the person, right? When I watch him play right now, I'm not saying that's who he is. If that's who he is, he wouldn't have been the prospect he was. If that's who he is, LSU wouldn't have recruited him the way he was. When I watch him play right now, I see tentativeness. I see someone, I won't say scared, but I see someone apprehensive to actually let it the hell go, to actually get out there and just ball. And I think that becomes a decision at some point because you can feel until you finally say, you know what, bro, just swing it.
It's almost a fuck it mentality.
Yeah, it really, you get there where you just, swing it because what else can happen? It can't go any worse than what it has, so let's go do it.
Let me give you an example, right? Paxton's all. I don't want to. The only way
We're not talking about it, but we can criticize what we see right now.
Right, and the only way I can reference this, right, is 2021, my last year playing, I was in AAA, and my whole thing was I need to get to the big leagues. I need to get back to the big leagues. That's all I wanted to do. I was the oldest guy in the locker room, and I knew I was a big leaguer. I just wanted to get back. And we're playing at Norfolk, Virginia. Worst place in the world to play. Field sucks. Ball doesn't carry. Cages are terrible. It's hot and muggy.
Stinky.
It's just not a great – the clubhouse is brutal. The Club E is the worst. Like, just nothing's good about it, right? Like – stale bread, moldy bread, like nothing good.
No.
So I'm in the cage, and it's hot in the summer, and I'm grinding through it. And Chris Johnson was our hitting coach, and me and him had a great relationship. And I was so far in my own head because I didn't feel good, but I wanted to feel perfect. That was my issue. I always wanted to feel perfect. I wanted to feel good in the cage, and I didn't. I wasn't barreling stuff up, and I was yelling. I was dripping sweat. My hands were almost calloused. And I wasn't starting that day, right? I was off, and so I was just doing extra work. And I was yelling at Chris Johnson, not at him, but yelling at me, basically to him.
So you're yelling at him.
And I was like, you know what? It's just lack of fucking talent. I'm just not fucking good. Like, that's where I was mentally, right? That's just where I was at mentally. And so everybody starts laughing. I was like, don't fucking laugh. I'm being serious. I just fucking suck, right? Like, so
It's over.
I pick up the balls. I go in the clubhouse. I take a shower. I'm like, all right, at least I'm not playing today. What do you think happens? Guy gets hurt. I have to go in the game in the 7th inning against a guy throwing 98-mile-an-hour sinkers. I don't know where I'm at. I have no idea how I'm supposed to feel at the plate. First at bat, guy throws me a 98-mile-an-hour sinker, hit a ball, 110 right up the middle for a base hit. I'm not even happy. I was like, I don't even know how I did that. Like, that was just lucky swing. But I was like, at that point, I was like, I feel so bad. I don't know where I'm at. Screw it. I'm just going to swing. And it worked out. Next at bat. Guy throws another 98-mile-an-hour fastball inside, hit the ball over the scoreboard for a home run. Run around, everybody's giving me high fives. I thought you sucked last. Because I don't even know what I did. That's bullshit. I don't even know what happened. I don't know how I did that. I can't repeat it. But my point in saying that is, sometimes you get to the point where you say, hey, listen, I'm an athlete. Fuck it. I'm just going to swing and just see what happens and just let it happen. And that's what happened. And that's just an example. I'm sure you have plenty of examples that same way.
We all have, like, you play the game long enough, we all go through the shit stages. It just is what it is. But usually when you go through the shit stages, you go through the figuring it out stage right after where you're trying so hard to nitpick everything. And guess what? Shit still ain't working. And then you finally get to a point where you're like, man, to hell with this. I know I feel good. I've felt this. I've done this already. So now you start trying to play faster. Mm-hmm. When you start trying to play faster and you stop worrying about this field, that field, this field, and you start playing the game with your eyes, everything starts to sink and work at game speed. And when I watch him play right now, he ain't playing at game speed. He's swinging through pitches that are way off the plate. He's taking pitches right down the middle. He's not playing the game with his eyes right now. And guess what? I'm not sitting here saying that I've never done that. We've all done it. But I can only talk about it this way because I've been there, right? Now it takes you to say at one point, sooner or later, it can't get any worse, bro. Go play at full speed. Mm-hmm. And then things start to finally catch up when you do it. But don't get yourself in a spot to where you're no longer allowed that opportunity. That's where you don't want to be.
I think that was a pretty good answer.
Agreed. Send it to him. Okay, next one up. Fonsorelli. This is subjective. Ask him him. Oh, well, let me send it. Ask him him.
Full send.
Full send. Why is the plate approach with runners in scoring position so bad? Because I do believe that is something that you could point to and be.
No, it's not. It's not. I'll just answer it this way.
You go.
No, I'm saying I just watched the 2 games with 25 dudes that are watching on Friday, that's it.
Let me answer very, very, very simple. Very, very, very. There's been 2 weeks in SEC play. There's been 6 games. There's this thing called the law of large numbers. We ain't hit that thing yet. So let's not be too overcritical of what you've seen because you never really asked those questions before we got to SEC play.
And here's my to expound on that. You go through this weekend, you go 12 for 17 with runners in scoring position. You score 15 runs, right? Now all of a sudden, as a team, you're hitting 350 with runners in scoring position, right? That's the law of big numbers. That's what he's saying. The other thing is, when people are in scoring position, pitchers are pitching better, right? You're no longer getting the, hey, I'm just going to get ahead of this guy. I mean, don't walk him. Don't get anybody on base. You are getting, hey, I can't let this guy score. I'm going to throw my nasty stuff. I'm going to throw breaking balls a little bit more, a little bit sharper, a little bit harder. I'm going to lock it in, right? Now, the hitters have to lock it in too. But it's not that easy to hit with runners. Now, it's a big deal. You need to win.
It is.
But the law of big numbers, right? Like it's gonna fluctuate. It's gonna change. It just sucks that it started the way it started. As far as approach, I don't think that the approach necessarily is wrong or is bad. I think that right now they're just in a position where nobody is really hot, and the guys that are hot aren't really getting a ton of opportunities with guys in scoring position.
And you got to think too. Like I said, 1 weekend ago was their first SEC series, and then you go weekend number 2, and it's your second SEC series. There is when you approach these kind of things, you have to be very, very, very delicate in the sense that when you make too big of a deal of it early, when you jump on the panic button early, it brings the wrong kind of quote unquote urgency to the players, to the hitters, to where they actually do get tighter in those situations, right? You actually have to let large numbers play out and be a thing before you make this huge scene or huge idea of, hey, y'all suck in this situation. Let's figure it out. So you got to be very delicate about how you think about that 2 weeks into play.
Yep.
Next one up, Nick Hessler. Send it. Ask him, could Jake Brown be the next Mikie Mahtook? Oh, nice. Glazing. And save our season in center field as a true freshman.
Wow. One.
Thank you.
I did not save any season.
Savior!
Yeah.
The savior!
One, I did not save any season. I was just fortunate enough to be a part of that team, right? That definitely was not the case.
Nick, I see what you're doing. I love it. I like it.
Two.
Text me. Put that one in there.
I was a righty and not a lefty. No, my point is Jake Brown is very talented, right? Jake Brown is going to do both at LSU. He's going to pitch and hit. This year he's going to hit. He's a freshman, though, right? And he's going to have some opportunities. I talked with his dad at our tailgate this past weekend. His dad's like, look, Jake Brown wants to be at LSU. He loves being at LSU, and he's going to continue to be here. He's going to be ready for that opportunity whenever that opportunity comes. Like, he's getting some starts, and he's getting some opportunity, but it's not consistent as he probably wants it to be, right? Which, fine. There's a lot of guys that are talented. In the next 3-4 weeks, the guys that are getting the opportunities and continuing to produce in those opportunities are going to start playing every day.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think that this team needs a one-man savior at all. Like, that's not where this team is at. I think Jake Brown could be a very key cog in this team, in this lineup, and a very important piece as a lefty power athletic bat. But is it in center field? Is it in right field? Is it in left field? I don't know. Now, he's obviously got, run those balls out and do those things the little things that, listen, how you do anything is how you do everything. And everybody has been victim to that, where you have a mental lapse and you say, oh, I'm just out or whatever. You don't run hard. Everybody has been victim to that. I don't fault him. He probably learned his lesson. He's going to come. And I don't even know if that's the reason he's talking about. I'm just assuming. I'd imagine knowing him, talking to him, I'm sure he's not going to see. You're going to see him run down the line as hard as he can run down the line from here on out.
Yeah.
But I do think he's going to be a big part of this lineup at some point this year.
Yeah, I think he's a key player that's going to have some level of like real production for him this year. But I'm with Mikey in a sense of, I think Jay's not going to put it this way to the players if I had to guess, but this week in his mind is of extreme urgency to try to find wins however they come. I think after this weekend, where he finds success over the next month is guys he's going to really try to stick with and let them roll and try to see, can I find some routine, some consistency with this lineup by letting these guys go, because that's where you're going to have to try to figure out, like, where is this team going to go? What is the identity of this team? How are they going to do it going forward? And there has to be some kind of consistency for you to be able to figure that out.
All right, next one up from Luke Bischoff. We got a couple of more before we get to it. So I think there's two more that I want to answer. This being one of them. Asking them, what is your take on Jay Johnson's ejection? First one of at least his LSU career. Yeah. You don't see it happen in college very often.
Right.
I like it. I mean, I think at the time it was probably warranted.
Kind of out of moves.
Right? And, like, hey, sometimes you get thrown out to try to, like, give the team a lift. I think it was a good time to do it or try it. I don't have one way or the other. I'm kind of indifferent on it. But, if the umpire is going to warn both teams for the reason that they warned them, which is they're talking a little shit to each other and started getting chippy, and then the guy punches you out and then starts talking shit again, then what was the point of the warning? I understand that was Jay's point. It's like, if you're going to warn us, in his mind, I don't think you need to warn us. But if you're going to warn us, then have some substance behind the warning. And, so I'm all for it, if he thought that was the move.
Has that ever worked? Have you ever been in a dugout where that's worked, where you're actually like, oh, hell yeah, Skipper's got our back. Like, let's turn this thing up? Because it seemed like LSU went the other direction.
Yeah, but it usually works when, there's, an isolated incident of, one person or something that, they felt they were really wronged. This one I felt like the umpire just warned the guys because he just wanted to make sure that everything was not going to get heated. And, sometimes it's a little boost and just kind of gets the guys pissed off and they play better.
So from the lens that I saw it from was, so Bear hits the homer the at-bat before. I think they started chirping at him because he stood there and admired it and kind of watched it.
And Kyle Pierce just said the same thing. I'm like, he didn't even stay there that long.
I thought he did what every hitter does.
I've seen way worse. That
right, it wasn't that big of a deal to me. The first baseman said something to him. He turned back and said something. I saw he kept looking at Caglione as well as he was rounding home, or as he was rounding the bases. And then the catcher also said something to him when he crossed the plate. So I don't know how many other people saw this, but the next at bat, Travinsky comes up. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, the pitch before he struck out, I think Caglione quick pitched him. And he fouled that pitch off, and he looked at him, and you could see, I couldn't tell if he said anything, but he was looking at him, and he got back in the box. before the umpire even got back behind the plate. So I feel like he got quick pitched and he said something about it, and then he K'd him on the next pitch, and that's when Caglione said something. Now, mind you, before he gave up that at bat is when Jay was when the warnings came. So when that all happens and the first chirping comes from the pitcher, I think that's where Jay just flew off of, because you just warned us,
Right.
And then now you let it continue to go on. So I kind of felt like he was standing on that, and then that kind of snowballed into, well, also this is a one-run ball game, I believe at the time, and let's try to spark this thing. It just didn't work out that way, but I think he was really standing on.
No, I think it was a 3-run ball. I don't know what it was. Either way. Either way.
Yeah, Jay commented on it after the game, and he said that you won't see me being ejected again this year, at least not with this team. And he also said, he goes, "I feel like I was watching like when he had to go back and watch the game in, I guess the locker room or what have you, in the clubhouse. He was like, it was like watching my own funeral. It's like, this is not how I never wanted to have to do this again. I was watching my own death."
Right.
And
I mean, we know how much, like, Jay literally manages games. Like, he is doing a ton. He is making a ton of foreshadowing, a ton of moves before the moves actually happen. He's not doing that just to spark. It happened because he really saw something, and I guess he was trying to stand on that. But he's not one that's trying to, especially with this team, like you said, that's trying to not be around to manage the game, because that is what he does.
Right.
All right, last one here. And I think it's just probably people that need to be addressed. A couple of them. Christian Burris, Mr. Negative. Sunshine pumping is crazy. This team is trash. Probably won't even make it to a regional. Arkansas is going to go 3-0 against LSU and probably run rules twice.
Man, if you feel that way, then
why are you even watching?
I'm sorry, dude. You're right. They probably won't make a regional.
Hate and love are this close.
I mean, they probably won't make a regional. If you love to hate, that's a good thing. I am telling you that it's not as bad. You're going to look up in 6 weeks, and they could potentially be 1 or 2 in the SEC. I don't know if that's going to happen, but to say they are trash is that's a little aggressive.
I wonder what that Ole Miss fan base thought about them 2 years ago.
Oh, they're calling for his head, for Bianco to be fired.
Firing.
Yep.
Just got to play it out, baby.
Now you
got
got
to play it out.
Baseball is a beautiful sport because the season can change in 1 month. Like, you could be average, and all of a sudden you get this really good month and you get hot and you can ride that thing all the way. Washington Nationals did it in the big leagues a few years ago. Worst team in baseball, last place team in May or June or whenever it was, ends up going on this outrageous run and winning the World Series. Ole Miss did it 2 years ago, right? You did it. Y'all are stinky.
Yeah. So if we want to talk about this team is trash, we were also let me run this back for you right now. We were 1 month away from finishing.
Before you get to that, let me talk about the guys on that team. Before you get to that, LeMahieu was a freshman.
We had the nation's home run leader, or
Matt
second
Clark.
home run, or second in home runs, playing first base.
Yep.
Blake Dean
was on that team. Sean Ochinko, Ryan Schimpf,
Micah Gibbs,
Lewis
Coleman.
Coleman was on that team. Verdugo who pitched in the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in the outfield? Leon
was on that team.
Freshman All-American.
So that trash team, this whole trash team,
that's a lot of teams that played professional baseball.
Yeah, we were 11th in the SEC with exactly
12 teams at the time.
12 teams at the time. 11th out of 12. 12 teams. That's it. Right? With exactly 1 month left. 1 month.
Perfect example.
Right? That same trash-ass team found a way to win 23
29, 26-1 was their record.
No, that was the year before.
That was the year before. My bad. That was the year before. But you were 23 or 20. It was 23-17 or 23-16 or something. Whatever it was.
So that same trash team found itself in Omaha that year as well. So we're 2 weeks into this SEC schedule, man. I get it. It hadn't looked good. It got 10-run rule 2 Sundays in a row. It's still early. It's still early. And I'm going to stand on that because I know what kind of talent is on the mound. I know what kind of talent that is still young and needs to come along as position players. That's what Jay and that coaching staff is here to do, to make those guys come along and make them gel at the right time. This is baseball, man. If you're peaking right now, you might not be where you need to be at the end of the year. And I'm not saying you want to watch them get blown out on Sunday, but I damn sure don't want to see you peak right now either.
And it's not saying that they are going to be elite at the end of the year.
Right.
But it's saying that they're the talent. If they weren't talented and they weren't good, they didn't have the ability to do it, I would say they got no shot. but they are talented, and they do have the ability to do it. And sometimes you just got to – it just doesn't happen right away sometimes. It's a whole new team. Coming off a World Series, it's hard. We barely made the SEC tournament the next year after our World Series. Like, it happens. So it's not sunshine pumping. This is more of, hey, this is the reality of baseball, but this team is super talented, and they have the ability to right the ship. That's all I got. Lloyd?
You want one more? I'm sending the Zoom link again because we don't have the premium. We only have the starter package, so it expires after a certain amount of time.
Okay.
So I'll do one more for you.
Okay.
Luke Bischoff ask Mikey and Mitch, can we realistically expect a significant improvement from the offense, or is a team average of between 250 and 300 where it's going to stay?
I mean, I think you can expect a significant improvement. Now, 250 to 300 is a wide range there. If I told you this team is, if I told you this
250 hitter or a 300 hitter.
Yeah, I mean, if I told you this team was hitting 300 at the end of the year, I think you'd be happy with it. I mean, I know it's an offensive league, but you have some really talented guys on the mound on a different team. So I do think it's going to get better. I do think that their average at the end of the year is going to be over 300. I'm willing to bet that. Like, I think it's going to be closer to between around the 310 range.
I don't know where the average will be. I don't know how far the team will fall, if you want to call it a fall. But if you are a regular watcher and or listener of the show, and I really appreciate it if you are, I've only been pumping that since the start of this thing. They got some young dudes that's going to have to come on, and they're probably going to come on later in the year. So I expect it only to be better going forward. That's it.
That's it. He's there?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you for the Ask Mikey and Mitch. Ask Mikey and Mitch segment is brought to you by our friends at Heineken. We went through the Heineken headlines earlier. We had some Heineken flowing this weekend. Just me, though. None of my friends. Yeah, none of my friends were there. None of my show friends. None of the Mik'd Up team were there. I had some other friends that showed up, supported. Obviously, it happens. We're going to continue to have tailgates, but the Heinekens will be flowing very regularly through these tailgates. Weather was beautiful this weekend, too. So appreciate all the questions. We'll continue to do that every week. Now, we are excited to continue talking LSU. We'll get back to the baseball conversation with our friend Bryce Koon. But before we get there, let's talk about some of the other sports that are going on with LSU. And we are welcoming back our friend of the show, friend of LSU, covers LSU for 247, Bryce Koon. Appreciate you, Bryce. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, guys. How's everything going?
Everything's great. How are you going with you? How's it going with you?
Man, I'm 9 weeks from having a little kid.
Wow.
Baby's 9 weeks away, man. So big things going on.
Yeah, you're getting close to it.
Get all that rest in.
Yeah, get some sleep right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this thing right now. Obviously, we talked a lot about baseball just now, but before we go back to it, let's get to the conversation that everybody's having around the country. All right, women's basketball coming off a national championship, back in the Sweet 16. Kim Mulkey's a pretty polarizing figure in the sport, right? In athletics, in the sport of college basketball, women's college basketball. Some news broke, or she technically broke the news herself and got ahead of it and said that something is going to be published that is going to try to come at her. Can you give some more detail? Is your video that went viral? Congratulations on that. Can you give some insight into what you think it's going to be and the way she's kind of approaching this?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't monetize my Twitter. That was of the best interest. But no, so let's kind of start back on Friday. Obviously, Pat 40, this is a wild concept. A sports writer breaking the story of another writer. That is a wild
crazy
concept. I don't know if we've ever seen that. So Pat 40, who is already, LSU fans don't like him. The story that he wrote on Brian Kelly a couple of years ago.
Well, and the Will Wade stuff.
Yeah, it's a whole litany of stuff where he's just not a big fan. For a lot of people, not just LSU fans. So that he tweets that out, and kind of the interesting thing was when we knew Kim was going to say something, that's when it's like, because Kim never issues opening statements at press conference. Let's go straight into this, get straight into questions. you see her kind of take out a piece of paper that got stapled. She got like this is a long little piece of paper thing she's about to read from. And I looked at the guy next to me. I was like, all right, like, here we go. Like this is something's about to happen here. So yeah, like this perceived article that's going to drop. I mean, we've heard everything from it's going to be scheduled. I mean, there is no. Folks, it's not a coincidence that they tried to come out with this right before the start of the NCAA tournament. I don't think it's going to be a coincidence if what we think is going to happen, that this article could drop right before LSU's Sweet 16 matchup this upcoming weekend. That's not going to be something that's really super surprising for a lot of people. In terms of the content of it, what the nature of this could look like, I don't think, and Mikey, you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. I don't think it's going to be anything new. Like kind of what's out there on Kim Mulkey, a lot of people feel and believe that it's going to be a culmination of as many people are willing to speak on or off the record about it. It's really the definition of a hit piece. That's what this is here. This is the definition of a hit piece to try to kind of bury her. I don't know what the angle is of it, but like I told you guys, it's really kind of sickening. Whether you agree with certain things that she speaks on or whether you disagree, just cheering for someone's demise regardless of anything. I mean, anything they choose to believe in. It's a sickening thing, and we saw a lot of that on social media this weekend. But as for the contents of it, I think a lot of people would be floored if it was something new. I mean, there's a lot out there that a lot of people don't like her for. I would be floored, and a lot of people would be floored too if this was something breaking news in terms of something we haven't heard before.
So you don't think this is going to be something that's like career threatening or anything like that?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, define what career threat would be for her? Because look, there's a lot of things where a lot of people, maybe in other situations, would have been, let go for it. The perceived public opinion. LSU has simply said, "Hey, we don't care. You be you. You do what you're going to do." I don't think every other institution across the country would have done that. So I think in other places she might have been let go already with some of the things that people have tried to, and I'm going to use this word. I hate this word. Cancel her for. That being said, what would it be to be some type of fireable offense? It'd have to be some indisputable evidence of something new or something that is so blatantly obvious, whether that's some type of video evidence, some type of picture evidence, whether it's look, we know she's hard on players, and unless there's some type of verbal abuse, some type of abuse thing. Was it Bob Knight when that kind of stuff came out? A couple, or I guess not a couple of years ago now, but it's been a while. Yeah, like that's when people kind of like, holy cow, like this is what this guy does. That's where for me, like I don't know where the line is for. Hey, we don't want to deal with this. LSU's backed her; they've supported her in that, and so. I really do think it's a hit piece. I think it's something where it's going to be a culmination of a lot of different things, whether it's a Brittany Griner situation, whether it's former players speaking on, different things that she might have said or allegedly did during her time at Baylor, all those type of things. And then, some, I guess, the recent news of obviously Brittany Griner getting her number retired, Mulkey was against that. From what I've been able to gather, that was just because, a lot of these programs we want you to graduate from here and then we're going to retire your number. Brittany Griner did not do that. People tried to blow that up into obviously some of the narrative that surrounds all of that. Never a dull day. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't foresee this being something that is career threatening. That's why I said it'd blow us away. It'd blow from talking to people. It would blow people who are closer to the situation. It would blow them away too. So I guess that's the confidence meter of where you're kind of sitting with this.
Bryce, do you think that this is something that the players on the team caught wind of or had an idea of or heard anything of before the Middle Tennessee game? And do you see it as something that they'll kind of be able to use as a rallying cry going forward?
Yeah, so, Mulkey stated that her team did not know she was going to even make the statement that she made after the game. So,
but the statement and actually knowing are two different things too as well.
They're two different things. Look, I think that these players completely understand when they sign up for this is what they're going to get. They're going to get, ridiculed. They're going to get, and not only because of the personalities that they have, that people want to ridicule them, the Angel Reese of the Haley family and the fame that comes along with that, but I think too, in the sense of understanding Kim Mulkey's a polarizing figure. Like, this is going to happen regardless if you're a named player or not. You are going to be surrounded by this. So I think it's something that they've been coached up on. I think that SID department has done a good job of that. I will tell you from being inside the locker room the past couple of days with different questions, they have sat there and said, like, they are not answering anything about Flau'jae Johnson obviously made that post, which everyone understands to be Flau'jae and Kim, have that close-knit relationship that you could call it a mother-daughter relationship of what it is. But I just sit here and I don't think that it's something they're necessarily going to use because they're so used to this. And I think, I will say this. I believe whether Kim's going to publicly say it or not, there was probably a closed door behind the scenes conversation of, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what we expect this to be. Here's my statement on it, and let's go keep winning. I don't want you all have to focus on that because I do believe Kim in that in a stance of this is not about this year's team. Right. This is something in the past, and if Kim got out in front of it in the public sphere, I guarantee you she got out in front of it in terms of the private behind closed doors type of thing.
As far as the actual gameplay, right? As far as the actual team on the court, not stuff that's surrounding the court. Obviously they've had stuff all year, right? Last year they had stuff all year around Kim and the team and the girls, and they've handled it very well. This year, kind of similar stuff. They've gotten through it. They responded really well in the second half against Middle Tennessee. Obviously ended up winning by almost 30 points in the Sweet 16. A lot of drama, but it feels like they've kind of been hardened throughout the course of the year, right, with all the stuff that's surrounded them. What is the mood like in the locker room outside of this, and what's the mindset moving forward going into the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I think Flau'jae summed it up pretty well. We talked with very kind of the mass media scrum in the locker room. Hey, we didn't want to go home. I mean, obviously no one was pleased with the 24 turnover performance that they had in that first round game against Rice. And Rice played a heck of a game. But look, they played two really good major teams. I mean, Rice was very solid. Middle Tennessee State is a really good team. They upset Louisville, and like Kim mentioned multiple times, their head coach, Rick Insell, has upset, I believe 17 SEC teams in the tournament, and regular season play. So he's no stranger to kind of the slaying of the giant type of thing. So it's survived advance, and that was kind of the mood in the locker room afterwards. Say, hey, we get through this. But the opposing coach said this, multiple players said this, if we play like we played in that second half, a sense of urgency, defensive focus that was unbelievable. And, guys, typically they have this, high up in the rafters. We're right down there on the court. And you're just able to see the communication. You're able to take in a lot of things at a better level. If they play like that, they're going to be a hard out. Like, it's not going to be something of where the talent's wasted. Where a lot of people on social media have said, hey, this team's way too talented. Why are they playing like that? If they can harness that second half like they had against Middle Tennessee State, they can make a run here. Because, like you guys were talking a little bit of baseball, they've got some people that haven't been there before. Anissa Morrow is one of them. And I think Anissa Morrow is kind of the engine of this team. When she goes, this team dominates. She does a fantastic job with it. You got to continue with it as well with Flau'jae. She's been there. But Michaela Williams hasn't been there. Aaliyah Del Rosario has not been there. So these first two games, getting challenged the way they did, it's going to help immensely, and it's going to allow these players to grow up even quicker.
Do you think, first half of the Middle Tennessee game, do you think there might have been a little bit of them looking ahead since they did not end up getting – Middle Tennessee State had the upset over Louisville, and they did not end up getting that matchup. Do you think that there was maybe a bit of looking ahead to the next matchup?
Yeah, I think when you go back to Rice, Kim said in her post-game presser, there was at first the idea of, well, we're not going to be able to be beat. And that became very real in that game against Rice. It's kind of the sense of invincibility that I think this team had. And I think it carried over a little bit. You have to give credit to Middle Tennessee State. They came out and punched LSU in the mouth several times. And LSU responded. But I do think that we're starting to see, and one common theme, Jared, I saw between both games was this team can start slow. Like, they kind of start right alongside teams, and it's sometimes, I would say, about 5 minute, halfway through that third quarter where you really start to see maybe it's one or two players really start to take over. Angel Reese recorded double-doubles in both games, but she would tell you she didn't play well. That's why I mentioned earlier, Morrow was one of those players, and then Flau'jae Johnson, I think she's the catalyst. Look, we know what Haley Van Lith can be. We know what Angel Reese can be. We know what these players can be. But Flau'jae has like this next level that she hits in these games where she was feeding off the crowd. You kind of saw that turn, and if you watch the game on TV, and Kim kind of mentioned this in the post game of the MTSU game, she started doing a lot of the coaching, whether it was on the floor or whether it was in the huddle on the sideline. And that was when you kind of realized, hey, they're starting to gain more control of it. So I think a little bit of that was obvious in the Rice game, and maybe too of saying, hey, we just really want to get to the Sweet 16. And I don't know if it's a lack of respect. It certainly wouldn't be from the top down, but maybe within the players' minds of saying, hey, we're LSU, we've got all these type of players. But look, it's going to be tested because it's battle tested, first two rounds there that are going to help you, rather than just kind of cakewalking through the first two games.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and I've obviously never played in the NCAA tournament, but I've watched it. The first couple of rounds, obviously, are the ones where if you can get through it, and you kind of get to settle in. I know the competition ramps up, but you also get to kind of settle in and start to find your own and get comfortable being in these. Kind of get comfortable being in these situations. Yeah. Feels like that's kind of where they're at. It's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, hopefully they can make that same run they made last year, and give a lot of excitement to LSU fans again. But let's switch gears a little bit to baseball. I know you are a baseball fan. I think people can notice that by your backdrop and you're a Masters fan.
2 days, right?
What's that?
2 days until Major League Opening Day.
2 days, it is. And you are, listen, I know we're here talking LSU.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah.
Thought it already started in
Japan.
No
doubt. No, Japan, listen, it's going on over there in Japan right now and in LA and different places in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is always extinguishing fires. And we're not going to get into that, right, unless you want to ask questions about that, but I don't know much. Before we get into the LSU conversation, you are from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy playing for Georgia that's doing something pretty outrageous. I don't know if you've paid attention to Charlie Condon, but he's hitting .524 with 17 home runs. I think they've only played 25 games. It's pretty freaking good. Have you been keeping up with him?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was texting a buddy who covers them. He's just asking how it's been with Wes and everything over there, and they've enjoyed it. And he said, they've already made jokes in certain press conferences. Like, MLB The Show, the video game came out 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whatever. And, Charlie, it feels like he's playing a video game. And when they've talked to him, he, really doesn't know what to say. Because it's just I don't know. And I don't know if you guys have had, stretches like this of where you're just kind of everything you see looks like a beach ball. It looks like it's coming, right down the middle of the plate. It looks like it's coming 60 miles an hour. The game just slows down.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like you got to.
For him, it's unbelievable.
It's almost like you got to convince yourself this is actually real, and I'm just gonna ride this wave. There's times you're there's no way I'm gonna continue to do it, but you got to convince yourself. Oh no, just do it until you're not doing it anymore.
Bryce, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not so sure that we're watching a wave, right? That he did finish last year second 25. In the SEC in average as well. Yeah. As a freshman, first year playing.
Yeah, he's good.
Redshirt freshman.
This is not
first year playing. That's my point. First year playing.
I don't think this is a.
Yeah. So could we be watching a better year than? Point. Could we be watching a better year than a Dylan Cruz and/or Tommy White had last year?
I mean, if he bats 500 plus, what's the record? I know the major league record with Ted Williams and everything. But I don't know what the college record is for batting average in a year.
Ricky Weeks had over 500 in college.
Yeah, he did.
But Ricky Weeks had 500 for Southern University.
Little old Southern U. Old Southern U. Yeah, he did.
I think the record, though. I think the record is. I think someone else has
I believe he's a walk-on. He was originally a walk-on too, which Georgia fans are spoiled with their walk-ons becoming these prodigies at this point. But that guy's a walk-on. If I'm not mistaken, the school that I went to, he had an offer to go to a little D3 school. Chose to not go there, and which would have been awesome if he would have went there. But he chose to walk on to Georgia, and man, it's the true testament of a kid that I think just keeps working. And Wes brought in 25, 26 new guys. That roster's brand new, and Charlie's one of the holdovers, and he wanted to keep them. And that's a nice little present there for Wes to have there in Athens, which I hate LSU's not playing Georgia this year because I'd like to see the kid.
Yeah.
I'd like how folks wanted to see Dylan and Paul last year and a host of others, but those two guys play, that would be a must-grab ticket, I think, as you start to get into the SEC portion if he keeps this stuff up.
Let me ask you this. When Charlie got to Georgia, was he that size, or was it one of those things where he just kept growing, kind of hit this growth spurt when he got to college like some people do?
So he did hit a growth spurt. Like obviously, I mean, you guys like you get into where you have these kids that are like naturally strong. I believe he's from like around the middle Georgia area, which is more of a rural area. So it's like when I was playing high school ball in Georgia, like we always referred to that area as like that's where the cornbread fed boys are. Like that's the country strong type of kids. They're not lifting weights, they're throwing bales of hay up into the top of the barn. Like that's those kind of kids. So I think when he got to Georgia and he was a masher in high school. Like he was a guy that just hit well, and then he gets there and he like maybe understands his swing more. He understands how to utilize his body. Understands that how to shift weight, like how to do all these things more to the scientific behind the swing. And man, it's just clicked because like Jared mentioned, I don't think this is a one-off thing. A batting over 500, maybe that part is, but him being a good baseball player is nothing new when you kind of look back at his high school career, what he was able to do. And then just kind of throughout his Georgia career and last season as well. But this kid's a bona fide baseball player, and I think MLB.com has him. Could be wrong. I think last time I looked was like the 4th best draftable prospect in the upcoming June draft. So, I mean, like right now they got him ahead of Tommy White, and based on what they've done this year, I know Tommy's on fire right now, but you can't ignore those numbers and what he's doing, especially within the SEC conference. And if he continues to do that in SEC play.
Bryce, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot right here.
All right.
But since we're talking about him and we're, 2 weeks through the SEC conference play, but you also have the pre-conference schedule that's already been played, who is your SEC player of the year and or the short list right now?
Ooh. All right, so I think Charlie's the favorite. Like that's a pretty softball answer. I feel like Charlie's the favorite. Cagliano's going to have to be up there. I mean, Cagliano's going to be in the conversation whether or not he keeps his numbers up just because of the lure of the voters of what he can do. Like the potential of what Cagliano does. I think he's a great baseball player. I'm going to go with Condon. I'm going to go with him.
Lavalette at A&M is pretty solid. He's having a really good year.
Yes. Yeah, no, he's been really solid. And you kind of go down the list, and I don't want to stay on with offense here because you kind of get a conversation like, could a pitcher win it? Like, and what would it take? Like, what are the numbers it takes for a pitcher to win it? I mean, who knows? This might not be necessarily a favorite, but can Luke Coleman do that? We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Coleman. I like Coleman's game a lot. I think he has the mentality from just talking with him several times to be that type of guy. But like you said, the kid from A&M, Cagliano at Florida, Charlie's going to be in that conversation. And then, what's the kid's name? Plays at South Carolina. He's impressed me. I can't even remember what his name
Petrie?
is. Yeah, Petrie. There's so much baseball is having to Petrie. There's so much baseball going on this weekend, and South Carolina just balled out against Vandy this weekend. Yep. Petrie's a nice little player. I have to feel like he's the guy who's kind of tailored off towards the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
But he's been through that. Like if he can recapture that, he's another candidate to do it. But I mean, look, if you were voting on March 25th, Charlie Condon's got to be the guy.
I know you have to run in a few minutes. Just a couple questions. We're not gonna keep you longer than 7:30. I know you got a deadline. So Jay, you got one other one?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So I just saw you got Condon over a lefty throwing 97 who's got a sub-2.
Don't let him do it. Don't let him bully you.
He's got 10 homers and he's hitting 400 plus. I just want to make sure I got that correct.
Don't let him bully you.
Yeah,
don't let him do it.
Okay.
So you planted that, obviously. You planted that with that in mind because that's what you set me up. Like this whole. Let's talk to him about Charlie, and then let's just bait him into the fact why he's got that Georgia helmet behind him back there. And then there's no. That's the reason. No, look. I mean, right now Charlie's got to win. I think just because of the ridiculous numbers. Cagliano, guys.
Yeah, special.
He looks like he looks like I don't know if there's an NIL deal with this. He looks like Captain America. Like that's just what he looks like.
Yeah, we talk about all the time.
They've been calling Mike Trout Captain America for so long. Like Cagliano's going to be that next guy where it's just like the way he's built, the way he.
He's a good-looking dude. You can say it. He's a good-looking dude. He's built. He hits homers, throws hard.
He's a good-looking dude.
You know, I mean, I imagine he's not struggling at Florida.
Hey, I'll tell you this, too. Look, sidebar, I love everything that Condon's doing. He's giving me small. I'll give you a comparison right here. He's giving me Chris Bryant feels.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. He does. Big dude, big righty.
Lanky, righty, third baseman. Yep. He's giving me Chris Bryant feels.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Were you at Alex Box this weekend?
Who's doing basketball?
Man, I was there on Friday and then Saturday.
See, he's there for 2 games.
Wasn't able to be there on Sunday.
Well, I was the one to
But I
miss.
guess the
If you're gonna
women's
miss
basketball
one,
games at the same time.
if you were gonna miss one, that was the one to miss.
Yeah.
What's your take on the boys? Get your quick 30-second take. Obviously, we could talk all night about them. What's your take on them? Are you pressing the panic button like everybody else is, or do you feel like this is something they can work through?
I've got 5 minutes. I've got a little bit. We're good. I'm not Jared. You said this, and you guys know this way more than I do. But I'm like the eternal optimist, I guess, when it comes to baseball, because like this game's hard. This is a hard game to play, and I think people just take it for granted. One thing I've learned, coming over to LSU and covering this program is there's a standard, and there's nothing wrong with having a standard. Jay said as much this past weekend. It's been obvious the past 2 weeks they are not playing up to the standard of what LSU baseball is currently. I think that is a true statement. But I think 2 things can be true at the same time. While that can be true, you can also say this is a talented team. And I heard Jared say this earlier. There's young guys that while their year in school may not say freshman or first year or something like that, this is kind of their first time going through these type of things. But they're still uber talented. And in this conference, you're going to learn on the fly, and there are going to be some really, really tough growing pains. Like, that's just how this conference is. It is a hard conference. One of the things that I could not get past, and I understand LSU's hatred for the Mississippi schools. I get it. I understand it. Rivalries are great. But a lot of people acted like Mississippi State was supposed to just be this, because they were bad last year, they were just never going to be good again.
Right.
And that blew my mind, because I'm like, if you pay attention to college baseball as a whole, especially the SEC as a whole, you know that maybe there's 1 or 2 teams that are not solid, they're not super, they're not at that level, but everyone else is pretty dang good, and they always have the ability to be elite. I think that's kind of a hard message for LSU fans, because right now they're not elite, and that's also okay. But man, to act like Mississippi State wasn't going to be good, and I even said this on a couple of shows last week, Mississippi State circled that series because these guys had to sit out the SEC tournament. They had to sit out NCAA. That program is not used to that. And so when they got their first crack, and man, they get the schedule, and it's the defending national champions.
At home.
That's statement time. That's statement time at home. And that place was packed out. And Jay said that. Like, he said that when they came back to Baton Rouge, he said, we've never experienced, Duty Noble with the dude or whatever you want to call it. They've never experienced it like that because they've always played, just how the schedule's lined up since he's been there. So I just really think that it's to take a step back. There's things that are correctable. There's things that can be fixed. And just let these guys go through, they talk about it in the major league game, the dog days. I mean, that's when you kind of start to really feel. But to freak out 2 weeks into the season, like I've seen people say that this team's going to miss a regional, this team is going to, all these different things. And look, I'm not looking into a crystal ball and telling you what's going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen? But whatever you think is going to happen, it's not going to be a direct reflection of what occurred these first 2 weeks to the SEC.
Right.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Couldn't agree. We're all on the same page there. I mean, I think that it's a long season. There's 8 series left. You have 24 games left.
Better win all 24.
I mean, you got a lot of games to play, a lot of baseball to be had. And as always, dude, we appreciate you coming on. I know we haven't had you on in a minute. We've been scrambling and moving around, but we found our new home, and we're working on our new home.
Squatters'
and so,
rights. Squatters' rights.
Yeah. Next time we have you on, we'll have you in studio, and we can hang out in person.
Sounds good, guys. And Lloyd, I really, really miss the lower thirds that are just always comical. This is what you put in my name. And, man, it's good to be back. But, hey, guys, I appreciate y'all having me.
Of course, man. I appreciate you, man. Enjoy your next interview, and we'll have you on again in a few weeks.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Lloyd, you did it. You grinded for us for a second there. I appreciate that.
Got through it.
We got through it. We did good. Bryce always good with the insights. Always has some scoop. Always understands the show. Jokes around with us. Love that. Always brings good personality. That's the name of the game here, right?
Everybody I assume it went well. I'm over here flying blind, Goose.
Well, you heard most of it.
Yeah.
Because it was playing out of something.
Yeah,
it was playing out of thin air. I don't know where it was playing. Not just in my headphones.
Yeah.
and it was definitely bugging me.
I know.
I'm ADD, so I could not.
God forbid I hear it twice.
It kept going a little in and out of mine. I was like, oh, it's a little low.
You got it.
Well, he was playing with the volume, and listen, you're producing.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Those are live bullets, dude.
Listen, dude.
It's an airsoft. It's the big leagues.
Yeah, this is you're shooting 9mm.
Glock 9mm.
To kind of put a bow on the conversation of baseball, like.
Hold on, I got a couple. Before we do, I got a couple updates from Jay's radio show. If you want to hear them.
Yep.
First off, at his radio show, he just said, following the Florida loss on Saturday, he was up at 4 a.m. with a glass of orange juice, staring at the moon.
He loves orange juice.
He does. That's his go-to treat. So I guess it was not necessarily a treat, but maybe this will get me right.
A little comfort food.
A little comfort food. You know, everybody's been there where it's like maybe this is what I need. And so he said Saturday night was not a good night at the Johnson household, and then moves on to say, I figured that Aiden Moffitt, Cam Johnson, and Michael Bucknam will pitch tomorrow. He reiterated that he wants to put those guys in weekend roles out of the bullpen if they can throw well. He admits that the bullpen has not been good in LSU's 4 SEC losses.
Okay.
So
he's being pretty upfront and blunt.
Hey, like we said, I don't think that's the only ones that's coming. I think that's the ones he wants to push forward. Maybe he sees that they need to be able to be active and part of the weekend slate, but I don't think that's the only changes you'll see coming.
And one
still
of the last
two guys with Chase Shores and Jaden Newt still waiting in the
Chase Shores
wings.
ain't gonna pitch this year.
I don't know why you keep doing that.
Well, because he did say after following the Texas series that he had thrown a bullpen. So that's the last update I'd got.
But I don't think he's pitching this year.
If he is, it ain't anytime.
Now Jaden Newt, maybe, right? Like you have maybe some help coming, but I will say this is kind of putting a bow on the conversation of the baseball today. He mentioned the bullpen. I agree, right? The bullpen hasn't been what you wanted, the standard that you had set and what you expected. At the end of the day, you are going to have a guy or guys out of the bullpen come in there and make big pitches in big situations and have it go the other way, right? Where, hey, the ball has got to go bounce your way, right? The ball that kind of gets away and the guy scores and then you give up a 2-strike game-tying homer in the ninth, like that's got to go the other way, right? I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying that's just the way the balls have bounced right now. And you're not, 11th inning, top of the 11th, you've done really well all game, all series. Can't give in, give up the 2-run homer. Like those little things that, oh man, one swing, one play here, one play there, those have got to start going the opposite direction. And, it's not luck. You make your own luck, and that's just kind of what's been happening right now.
You got to remember, too, like if we look at it, we go ahead and back up and just get that real aerial view of this thing. You got Arkansas sitting at 5-1, and you got Kentucky sitting at 5-1. Best anybody else is 4-2, which is only, 2 games away from where LSU is right now.
Flipped, yeah. Yeah, right.
So my point is it's a mixed bag everywhere else, and I don't even think Kentucky's the cream of the crop. I think Arkansas is for real, but I saw this from Kentucky. I don't know how well they swing it, and I think time will tell in the conference as they go along. But there's a long way left in this thing, and it's better for you to have some urgency early on and kind of get it figured out. But it's not anywhere near.
Yeah, and I will say this: the Arkansas series this weekend isn't if you go and you lose this series, it's not the end of the world, right? Like I'm not saying they are going to lose, but if you lose it, you still got some time, whatever. But if you go there and you win it, and you get some big hits, this is a series and these are games that can go and propel you into what we've been talking about earlier than you expect.
You go on the road, especially, and I don't even know if Jay will talk about it this way, but I do think the players kind of got to look at it as right now with where they are, hey, we show up Friday night, let's avoid a sweep. If we avoid a sweep, let's go get a win. If you get another win, then we go for the sweep. But you have to be able to take it like that where I'm going to go on the road, let's just make sure we don't get swept. But you do that, then you go find a way to win a series. And if you're lucky enough to do that in the first 2 nights, then you leave no doubt.
Yeah.
And you take that last one.
Yep, no doubt. All right, Lloyd, I know, have you gotten into a mistake of the day?
I do have a mistake.
Look at you, you're looking for it.
I was. And luckily, he's the gift that keeps on giving. And that would be one. I don't know if y'all saw this over the weekend, wherever there was
This chair is very flexible. I feel like I'm breaking it.
Hell yeah, dude. Good for you.
Look at that. Yeah. Go ahead. Hell yeah, dude.
There was, I guess, an owners meeting. Obviously, the hip drop tackle came out of
Oh, yeah.
that. But
I know that's a Jay had called. They said it needs to be banned. A lot of the defenders are not happy.
Yeah, they hate it. I get it. But
I get it too.
some of the offensive players are kind of on the same side of it. But that is not the mistake of the day. The mistake of the day being one, Jerry Jones, who was taking adamant notes during the.
Oh, is he drawing a house?
This
Is he doodling a house?
oh, I love that somebody found this because listen, to be the smartest man in the room, he at least made a lot of people think, man, he makes a lot of money and he's still over here writing.
Not a good artist. What is that? Is that like a?
It's nothing.
I don't know what that is.
It's
Did he scratch out some writing?
him trying to pretend to sign the check for Dak. Like, oh, man, this is what I would do. This reminds me of in elementary school, whenever I thought I was going to be a professional athlete. Just look through every notebook, and it's all just practicing your signature on every
Yeah, I
page.
did that.
Oh, yeah, at least you got to use it.
I did that. I did that in like 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
I was like, that's when I started practicing. I started figuring out.
I can't say that I did.
You should have.
did.
We got a behind-the-scenes photo. Was that from your home?
No, it wasn't from my house.
That actually,
Friend of mine said that,
Can
yeah.
you put that on there as a curtain call?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Give
you
me a
put it out
second. I
there.
have to email it.
Yep. But that's the mistake it is. Oh, Jerry Jones just that could be a curtain call actually. Like, hey,
It's my curtain call myself.
no, I'm talking about Jerry
Oh,
Jones.
the
The Jerry Jones, like, hey, curtain call. Like, you think that I'm really writing notes, but I'm doing what everybody else does in college.
I've been doing this a
I'm
long
just
time, boys.
I'm doodling on my notebook, and it makes the professor think I'm actually taking notes.
Somebody was trying to take up for him. Was like, he's making sure the pen works. It was like, well, how many times we got to make sure it works?
Well, it
before we
looked
write
like he was
something
drawing
down?
like a camel or like a house. I don't know what the heck he was trying to doodle, but like a little scribble in the corner of the page does it. That suffices if the pen works.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do exactly what you've been doing. That's a good one. Mistake of the day is brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place. It's a good place to go grab. Look, there's a lot of sports going on here. Baseball is a good place to go out and have a little lunch during midweek. Maybe a little midweek game. You come in and watch it. You go have a little lunch, then you go to the game. Go to the ballpark. Good spot. Great beer. Good vibes.
Seems like the
Dozy
place to be maybe even after the game. Where
After
you
the
can
game
go
too.
get
Yeah,
a-
go get you a steak, some tamales, some alcohol, some drinks.
Yeah,
It's
it
good
feels
place
like
to
a lot
be.
of people are wallowing these days.
No doubt.
Get you an orange juice. Just
Wow.
look
Oh,
at the
yeah.
moon. Me and
Oh,
Jay
yeah.
were looking at the same moon
The
at the
stars.
same time.
Stars.
It's like the Joe Dirt quote. Do you
Do
ever
you have-
think you're looking up at the same moon? Me and Jay were.
You got a curtain call before we get to Jay's?
Oh, I do have a curtain call.
We got a curtain call brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners.
My curtain call is, and I'll be opening it back up because I was on your email and I'm signed back into your email. So let's do this. Okay.
My email.
Curtain call is.
You can get to my email?
Oh yeah, dude, I got all your stuff.
I don't love that.
Yeah, well. What can you do? What can you do? There's been an update in the LSU quarterbacks room, much
What?
warranted. Not what's the update that you would think,
I know. I figured that.
but it is an ode to somebody that probably needed to be on the wall after, I don't know if everybody saw it coming, but after Jaden Daniels' Heisman season, you have Jaden Daniels officially on the wall.
Hey, there he is.
So
Look at
now
that.
you have
Yes, sir.
J-Rock, Matty Mock, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, big on them. They
Of
got
course,
those
I
legs
mean-
on there.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine plugging into those electrical sockets every day. And then they did the whole thing. And what?
Electrical socket is right
Right,
in the
yeah.
bad spot.
Power supply.
They didn't think about that.
No. But another
Apparently,
update.
Lloyd thinks they did.
That's the first time I've looked at it. I was like, oh, I didn't even know his legs
If
were
That was the
If
first thing you
anyone
noticed in the
catches-
picture.
If
If
wasn't it?
anyone catches that, it's Lloyd.
Yeah, no
100%.
doubt.
So curtain call to Jaden Daniels and the update. LSU, quick, always with the graphics and updating the wall. Hopefully you can add another one to it. Get Nussmeier after this
That'd be
year.
nice.
Or after 2 years.
Yep. Good one.
Thank
Good
you.
one. You pulled that one out of thin air.
I like
I
it.
was working quick.
I like it.
And now, hold on, let me get back to it. Let me get
Now
to my
Jay's
email.
curtain call.
Well, before you pull it up, let me explain it a little bit. So before there was the days of NIL, there was one young go hard that decided to show up to LSU, and I may have retired Nick Saban from LSU myself by him saying, you know what, it's just really hard for me to flip these kids that show up here and don't seem very interested. So this would happen to be my junior year of high school. My one young self thought it was a really good idea to show up in March Madness spirit as if I was about to hit the layup line with the Tar Heels
Granted,
at
you're
an
at
LSU event. And so that actually happened. So you can go ahead and just throw that thing up there.
Here we go.
Boy,
Look at this man.
I was ready to go. Ready to go.
My guy.
I
Look,
think Saban was like, man, I can't work here, man. These kids
my
are
man,
showing up
my
in
man
North
came
Carolina
in
stuff.
Carolina blue at LSU visit. You got the offer though.
Yeah, I did.
You got the offer.
I did. I must have tricked him. Maybe I don't know if it happened that day though. I'll be honest with you.
Went over to Jim, was like, Coach, I don't know if we're gonna get him. I mean, this man talked nothing about Michael Jordan. What a picture!
What a picture!
Hey, young me, baby.
Who are these other two?
You still got that?
showed
You
up
still
ready to
got
go.
that?
Oh no, I have
No?
no clue where that thing is.
An heirloom.
I have no clue where.
Who are the other two? Young bucks.
It was my running back in high school and my receiver in high school. The running back ended up going to University of Houston to play there. He is now the offensive coordinator at my high school. And he was actually a walk-on here, Craig Brody Jr. He was actually who sent the picture to me, so it was pretty funny.
That's unbelievable, dude.
Don't sleep on Nick's draw. He didn't even. I don't think his pants has belt. I think it's just literally like.
He just
waistband,
got him perfectly
elastic
tailored.
joints.
Yeah.
That
That man's
you know
smiling.
that
He's
tailored?
happy.
He
Look
was.
at young Nick.
Nick was happy.
I know. Young Nick was doing it.
Until he got into your ass. That happened. Damn, were you fresh?
Jump man.
I love that. All right, so my curtain call, and because I think it's just an absurd stat, I guess I can put it. I'll put it in the doc. So the Cinderella story early in the tournament was Oakland, right? Like Oakland from Oakland, Michigan. You had a guy on the team, Jack Golke, and we talked about his first game. We went 10 of 20 from the 3-point line. The next day he made 8 3-pointers. Then they pull up his shot chart for the year, and my guy is just letting this thing fly. He's got, let's see how many shot attempts he's had. He has 355 shot attempts on the season. 347 of the shot attempts are 3-pointers.
Hey.
He has only shot 8 2-pointers all year.
Know your role.
8 2-pointers. And most of them are layups. You have one that he must have had a step back three in the corner, couldn't quite get past
all
the
the way
3-point
back.
line. And the other, he must have gotten a rebound and had to put it up quick or something because he was right in front of the free throw line. Boy, what a shot chart. You know your role and
He
just
knows
chuck
where
it
that
out from
three-point
deep.
line is too.
Chuck it out from deep. Good for Jack Golke.
Man loves that corner.
My guy's going to be a great insurance salesman like me.
Yeah. And did you see all the NIL deals he got? Did you see the
got some?
commercial? Oh, yeah.
What did he get?
They did it, and this was actually going to be one of my curtain calls because it was exactly how y'all kind of wanted NIL to be. He got to capitalize on name, image, and likeness throughout the tournament, and the way that he set it up, he was on Pardon My Take, and he was like, I didn't even want to check my phone after the first game of the tournament because there was so much stuff on there. Like, tried to hit up, everybody that I could, whatever. And then it's like the business started. I was like, I can't look at this right now. Like, think we're going to make a run. And so he gave his email to his 2 best friends. He's like, I have the 2 dumbest people on the planet running my NIL. And it just went through and did, we should take this and we shouldn't do this. So it ended up with Buffalo Wild Wings as their first one. Like, great for the tournament. And he's
Great.
like, for y'all.
Yeah.
And so he ends up Buffalo Wild Wings, and they cut a quick commercial. I forgot who it was from. But he did a commercial in the hotel lobby where he was pretending to shoot threes. Didn't even go to the basketball court.
Love that.
And they taped a line around, and he just did corner threes and came off screens and threw the ball to nobody. So, shout out to NIL working the way.
Shout out to his boys.
Yeah.
Setting that up for him.
Yeah.
You know
We'll
what
take
I mean?
your bill. We got this before you.
Yeah, hey, 10%.
Yeah.
I need to get 10% of everything I got. I need 10 wings every time I get a deal from Buffalo Wild Wings. Good for him, man. That's exactly how NIL is intended. That's fun. That's awesome. Guy made a name for himself, and he's gonna be able to reap the benefits for whatever he does after the fact. I'd imagine he's gonna stay up in Michigan maybe, and he'll be able to do a lot of different things with that. So shout out to Jack Golke. Great story. Always love the tournament. A&M game fire last night, by the way. That was pretty crazy. But
Happy to see him go.
Huh?
Happy to see him go.
Happy to see him leave, but it was wild. I had Houston winning in my bracket, so I was glad to see him go. But it was a crazy comeback, 12 points in under 2 minutes.
And it felt like they had kind of
Game-winning
stolen the
three.
game. They act like they had won it.
Yeah, well, to come all the way back, and the way they did, they started fouling with like a minute and 15 left,
And draw this thing out.
and they were able to make threes. They made they did everything they needed to do. It was great. All right, that's all we got for you today on this Monday. Don't press the panic button. LSU plays tomorrow night at home. I will be there in attendance. 6:30 against Southeastern. Formidable opponent. Like in-state, playing hot, trying to kick a dog while he's down. I'd imagine LSU goes out there tomorrow and plays lights out and plays really well, gets back on track going into the weekend at Arkansas. We'll be back live in studio on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. And then again on Friday from 1 to 3. So we did ask Mikey and Mitch today because we felt like it was probably necessary to do it today because of everything that happened over the weekend. We were looking forward to being back with you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. If you're a Bachelor fan, enjoy the finale tonight. It is tonight. I know that because I've been watching with Allie.
Oh my God.
I'm not watching it tonight though because she's not at the house. She's watching with friends. She traded me out.
He'll watch it tonight.
She traded me away.
Just fast forward to the end, dude.
I mean, it's gonna be over. I'll just go on Twitter and see who wins.
You've got better things on your YouTube TV that are queued up and
Yeah. I know exactly what I'm watching tonight.
Mission Impossible.
I've already
You're
seen
about a quarter of the way through. Oh, you finished it?
it. I've already seen Mission Impossible. I've already
Yeah.
seen Mission Impossible.
West Coast Protocol was recorded. Told you I have all your stuff.
Someone else must have watched it on mine because I've already seen it. Good thing I don't have anything crazy on there. But
So much toddlers and tiaras, dude. What are you into?
Yeah. That's all we got for tonight. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate the support. We appreciate all of our sponsors. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you don't like watching us and you like listening to us, or anywhere you get your podcasts, we love you. We appreciate you.
Don't panic.
Do not panic. It's going to be okay. They'll figure it out. I promise. We'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.
Thank you for coming back, Jared.